And currently on the NATO base, skies are mostly cloudy. Winds are out of the west at 10 knots, and the temperature 27 degrees Fahrenheit. That's -3 degrees on the Celsius scale. The current wind chill temperature 22 degrees Fahrenheit, and the NATO base is in travel condition 3. Greetings and good morning. The time is 6:06 a.m.
Þetta ekki það sem við vona að sjá dagsdaglega á Íslandi. En svona nú samt tilveran í 7. stærsta bæ landsins. Við erum stödd í herstöðinni í Keflavik og þetta hluti af daglega lífinu. Hér ekki ætlunin að dæma tilverurétt hers og hermanna yfirleitt. Hvað þá heldur að hætta sér út í pólitíska umræðum veru hers á Íslandi. Staðreyndin sú að það herstöð við Keflavíkurflugvöll. Bær þar sem 6.000 einstaklingar lifa og starfa innan girðingar fjarri almanna augum. Hvernig líf þeirra? Hvað eru þeir að gera? Við ætlum að forvitnast það hér á eftir. Herstöðin við Keflavíkurflugvöll, sem alþjóðaflugvöllur undir stjórn íslenska yfirvalda, en bandaríska varnarliðið sér rekstur og viðhald hans að langmestu leyti. Í varnarliðinu eru sveitir úr flugher og flota og yfirstjórnin í höndum bandarísks flotaforingja.
Well, the function of the base is to support the operations for. It is a naval air station, and it's to support the operations for the maritime patrol aircraft, the P-3s, both U.S. and NATO and other anti-submarine warfare aircraft that operate out of Iceland, and to support the Iceland Defense Force, which is a command made up of Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine personnel, which is the Iceland Defense Force per our 1951 bilateral agreement.
Við byrjum ferð okkar hjá flugsveitinni. Þegar okkur ber að garði eru 2 vélar á flugi yfir vellinum en gengur erfiðlega að lenda vegna veðurs.
Okay, so the plan is to we'll hold them up as long as we can. 9K, send them over to Scotland. If they take the cable on 20, they close out 29.
Yeah.
It runs out past that?
Yeah,
okay,
it
so
could.
You pick up on 20? It could, but maybe not. See, now I run the risk of bringing somebody in and sending a single ship across the ocean. What's your total fuel?
Okay, go for it, answer. Sitting around 15.5.
Okay, pick up 14.5 units at a good altitude and stay up freaking. We'll give you words as we go.
Meðan beðið að rofi til, bæta vélarnar á sig bensíni og bíða átekta. Loks lægir veðrið stundarsakir og snjóruðningstæki flugvallarins keppast við að hreinsa brautina áður en næsti bylur skellur á. Kjarni flugsveitarinnar í Keflavík orustuvélar af gerðinni F-15. Í byrjun árs 1995 var þeim fækkað úr 12 í 4. Með breyttu heimsástandi hefur ekki verið talin ástæða að halda úti eins mörgum vélum og áður.
We would have landed, if they wanted us to take the cable on runway 20 with the weights we were landing at, it would have been exciting. Yeah. That's what we were hoping for. Man, that would have been fun.
The mission of the 57th Fighter Squadron is to protect the airspace, the sovereign airspace of Iceland, against any intrusion from any outside source. A secondary mission, just as important, is to help the Navy work jointly with the Navy to protect the sea lanes between Iceland and the United Kingdom and Iceland and Greenland from any intrusion.
Typically for us, if we're not flying, a pilot will come in at around 7:30 in the morning and stay till around 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
If you see most of my airplane, I'm not going to be able to take a shot. But if you see the nose starting to be within about 10 or 15 degrees, yeah, I'll probably be able to take a shot.
Okay. If you are flying, typically your day will start a lot earlier, maybe 6 o'clock for a briefing. And then by the time you're done briefing, flying, and debriefing, it's already around 1 or 2 o'clock. And now you've got all your paperwork and additional duties to do, so you could be here from 6 in the morning to 4 or 5 in the afternoon, just like everybody else. So if you're flying, the days get rather long, but it goes by fairly quick because you do what you're enjoying to do and what your job is. So that's the most fun. It's bad when you're not flying and you're pushing papers all day. I wouldn't imagine myself doing anything else right now in my life, and the airplane that we fly, the F-15, is the best in the world.
It's a great command, and I'll tell you why. Anytime you're overseas, away from home for us in the United States, it's a bit of an isolated location, and what it does is it brings everybody a lot closer together than you would be if you were stationed somewhere in the United States. So you get kind of a family atmosphere going in the squadron, and everybody works much closer together. When they party together.
Yeah, I've got quite a few friends downtown. We like to go down to Reykjavik and Hafnarfjord and party and go meet the people and have some fun. There's a lot of interesting restaurants and nightclubs and bars to go to, and try to do that. Especially the Blue Lagoon is also our favorite spot of ours. So try to get off the base as much as we can, because the base gets boring. As I've been here for over a year, the flying's been great, the people have been great, the sightseeing's been fun. It's been sometimes hectic in the winter. Well, as you saw today out there, snowstorms about every half hour, 40 minutes, so we'll launch our airplanes so they can still get the training, but now we've got to coordinate with the weather shop and with Snow King to clear the runways, find out when the next snowstorm's going to be here so we can land guys in between them so that they don't have to divert to Scotland like they almost had to do today.
We've been here since July of 1993. We were in Naples, Italy for 3 years before we came here. So it's been a while since I've been back to the States. I married my husband 15 years ago. And when I married him, he was in the Air Force, and I knew what his career would mean to me. And that would mean these long periods of time away from my family, because I knew growing up in a military family that I would not be in the same place all the time, and that chances were good I would be a long way from home. But it also gives me an opportunity to raise my children with a perspective of different things that are around the world and seeing more than just my own backyard. So it's a two-way, it's a good and a bad. The bad thing is, yes, we do have to travel around and for my husband's career, because we have to do that, and I knew that when I married him. But the good part of it is we get to see more things than a lot of other people that get the opportunity to see. Mama. For our family, it's good because it kind of draws us together. When we first get somewhere, we don't have anyone but ourselves. And we all pull together, and then we make friends. And the worst thing is having to leave the friends that we've made at every place. They can call him up and say, we have a job for you here, and if he wants to continue in his career in the military, he cannot say no. And we just hope that each time that the family is strong enough to pull ourselves together, get up and leave, and go build another life somewhere else, you know. But I think it makes a pretty resilient family and builds character, and it makes you a little more adaptive to different things, because someday I hope my children will go to college and settle down somewhere, and they will have seen quite a bit by then, I hope, and maybe be a little more tolerant of other people and the people around them.
Starfsmenn í herstöðinni koma og fara. Venjulegur dvalartími allt frá 6 mánuðum upp í 2 ár fyrir fjölskyldur. Vikulegt millilandaflug á vegum varnarliðsins og geta starfsmennirnir nýtt sér það til flutninga eða til að komast heim í frí.
We're going to Chicago, and then we're going to go to Georgia, and then we're going to come back. I'm from Chicago, so I'm used to the cold. The whiteouts kind of got me, though. I was kind of shocked I can't see my hand in front of my face, but it's really a beautiful place. I've been off the island, and it's been really nice. I guess coming from a city is a little bit different for me than people coming from the country. So I'm used to having a lot of people around, and it's nice to be able to go somewhere and not have to worry about leaving your doors unlocked and stuff like that. So
I'm going on what they call a house hunting leave. 2 weeks where they give you 9 days. You go back, you get set up a residence in the States, then within the next few weeks you PCS out, and PCS again is when you transfer, permanently transfer. Did my tour, 2 years, 8 months, and some odd days. I had a good tour, real good tour. Family enjoyed it, I enjoyed it, had a good time.
Einn kemur þá annar fer og hefur mikill fjöldi fólks haft viðdvöl á stöðinni. Ekki fjarri lagi að 300.000 manns hafi haft aðsetur hérna á vegum varnarliðsins. Á þessu tímabili hafa því hartnær jafnmargir Bandaríkjamenn og Íslendingar haft aðsetur hér á landi. Hermenn með fjölskyldur eru hvattir til þess að starfa hjá varnarliðinu og í sumum tilvikum biðlistar eftir því að fá að gegna þjónustu hér. Þykir veran á Íslandi tilbreyting frá erli stórborganna og ekki sakar lág glæpatíðni og falleg náttúra. Það kemur því oft fyrir að þeir sem koma hingað óska eftir því að fá dvölina framlengda, þannig að dvalartími þeirra getur orðið alltaf 4 til 5 ár. Varnarliðið rekur eigin sjónvarps- og útvarpsstöð auk þess að gefa út vikulegt fréttabréf.
On tonight's edition of Newsline, we'll take a final look at NAS Keflavik's runway 0725, get some winter safety information, and fill you in on a local food drive.
Well, we broadcast 24 hours a day. Primarily for television, we have 2 primary stations, Channel 4 and Channel 6. Channel 4 is our local programming in which we air material that's shipped to us via beta cassettes from our AFRTS in Los Angeles. It's our broadcast center. On Channel 6 is a satellite feed that we pick up from the AFRTS center in Los Angeles. In terms of radio, we have a broadcasting signal on AM 1530, which is also simulcast on FM 104. That's our primary signal, and we provide several different types of entertainment. Pretty much our headquarters back in the United States takes care of the screening process. There's certain programs that they're able to procure, and amongst those programs they take a look at them, see what's appropriate for our viewing audience, and see what the viewing audience wants. Each of the detachments is responsible for doing a survey, basically finding out what the viewers want to see, and that we sort of have a little bit of input that way. Then they take all that information, put it together, and decide what packages they're going to send us. That's our primary function, to provide people with entertainment over here that's extremely similar to the entertainment that you'd be provided in the States. It's going to be in a different format because we have to be really diverse and provide coverage of pretty much all your entertainment areas, whereas if you were back in the States, you might be able to pick and choose what channels you want to watch. We sort of combine them all together so you get a diverse package, so we have something for everybody.
Það ekki bara sjónvarpið sem sýnir okkur að við erum ekki lengur í venjulegum íslenskum bæ. Íþróttir gegna hér miklu hlutverki eins og annar staðar, en af allt öðrum toga en við að venjast.
Time out! Come on, we got some time, we got some time! Hey, Bob, we need you, bud! Bob, let's go, baby! Strength! Strength! Get it! Score! Come on, Dave!
On days when we're very busy, we'll have 1,400, 1,500 people come through. It's probably the most widely used facility on base. The gym is open from 5 in the morning till midnight, pretty much every day. On the weekends, 8 to midnight, and it's open every day of the year. We never close. Christmas, holidays, it's always open. People have to have somewhere to go. When they're not working, we try to have them come here as opposed to sitting in their barracks rooms or not doing anything. We try to get them out and have them doing something. And the gymnasium is a place where a lot of people like to go. The military is required to use the gymnasium just to stay in shape. It's one of the requirements for being in the military. But there is no membership. People just, everybody comes here. It's one of the places to spend a lot of time and get in shape. Twice a year, the military does physical testing. During the year, they train for that. It's just to make sure that people are staying in shape. But twice a year, every command does their own testing. They test running, sit-ups, and pull-ups. And if they can't make the minimum standards, then they have to come to the gym for organized physical training. But generally, people come on their own and just enjoy themselves. We're currently in the middle of our intramural basketball league. We have 3 teams from off-base. Sandgerði and 2 teams from Njarðvík are participating in that league. We have, in the swimming pool, we have 2 teams from out in town. The Suðurnes and the Njarðvík team come in and train in our pool. It's a 25-meter indoor pool. It's a little bit different than what they have off-base. We have the NATO Iceland basketball tournament. Comes up March or April every year, right after the Icelandic championships. We invite 8 teams on base, and they compete with our 1 team. We generally don't win it, but it's a good time. Just trying to mix up as much as I can with the local national, the Icelandics and the Americans.
Hugsanlega björgunarsveitin sá hluti starfsemina sem Íslendingar þekkja best til. Björgunarsveitin hefur starfað hér undanfærin 20 ár og ræðir yfir 4 þyrlum og einni Hercules björgunarflugvél. Sveitin hefur hlotið viðurkenningu fyrir björgun 250 mannslífa á þessum 20 árum.
I'm one of the pararescue specialists, and my job is to actually get off the helicopter and pick up whatever survivors wherever the mission is at. We have a cart right outside the door. We open the door and start loading everything right onto the cart, the medical gear, the oxygen, our survival equipment. If it's going to be in the water, we grab our dry suits and right onto the cart, run out to the helicopter, throw it on board while the pilots are doing their pre-flight and getting ready to take off, and it all comes together out there at the helicopter. Well, I've been doing this 17 years, and we have lost quite a few guys along the way through training and injuries and things like that, but guys try to stay in this job as long as they can, but there are inherent hazards to this type of work with the parachuting and scuba diving. People do get injured, and it is a job for a young man, but if you stay in shape and we all work out every day, run and swim, and it helps keep us young. We're here to support the fighter squadron that's here, and we don't get too many missions picking them up, so we help whenever we can with Icelandic fishermen or Russians or whoever else needs a helicopter to rescue them. We train during the daytime in the summer because there's no darkness, but our primary way we'd go rescue somebody in a combat environment would be at night, so during the wintertime we get plenty of darkness, and we go out and fly here at night with the night vision goggles. And so we'll come in late afternoon and do a briefing and get all equipment ready to fly, and then take off when it's getting quite dark out, and fly for a few hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours around the island, and sometimes out over the water, and do different types of training out over the ocean. And pretty much wraps it up, about a 10-hour day on a training day. It's really a rewarding career. That's why I really enjoy it. Otherwise, I don't think I would have stayed in the Air Force as long as I have.
Eiginkona Paul Peppins og dóttir komu einnig með, en af hverju valdi hún sitt starf?
Well, my husband, before I joined the military, he is in a specialized job, rescue, and I knew that he would only be able to go to certain places in the world, and I needed to get a job that was, I could go anywhere he went, so I chose the job as an admin specialist, which is like I want to say like a secretary, and I don't want to offend any other admin specialist, but it's similar to that in the civilian world. So that's why I chose that job.
Actually, I volunteered to come here because we've heard it's a good place to take a family and good environment for doing things together as a family. The units here don't have a mobility mission, so I'm not going to be sent off for 3 or 6 months to somewhere else. I'm going to be staying here in Iceland with my family, so it's a good deal for most of the military people here.
so they can stay with their family and do things together. Plus, it's really safe here. We don't have to worry much about crime and the things that you run into in the big cities back in the U.S.
As much as you can, you try to spend time because, you know, basically the daycare will be raising their daughter, and unfortunately, because they're there more of the waking hours that she's more than with us. So we try to keep her up as much as we can to spend time, teach her ABCs and counting and shapes and puzzles, and trying to spend a lot of family time, which is why we love it here in Iceland, because it's so safe. We can let her go play out in the playgrounds that we have out here, and we can go out camping together and doing a lot more family things than we ever have in the places that we've been before. So this has really been a good family time for us here in Iceland.
Sometimes we work long hours and I'm working nights, she works days, we don't see each other that much, and there's always the coming home from work and trying to take care of our daughter and get supper ready, and it's always a little more stressful, I think, than what some civilians, at least in the United States, go through on a day-to-day basis.
We need to make sure our wills are done. We have to make sure that we have people that Alexina will be able to be shipped to temporary time in case we both are deployed, sent someplace to another country to fight a war or whatever, TDY or something that she's got to go to, and then she'll be shipped to another place permanently. We have to make sure our money is there to take care of her for the rest of her life. Should we die, we have to make sure that she's taken care of at all times.
Our plan, if we get sent off to war somewhere, if there's another thing like the Persian Gulf conflict, we have to send our daughter back to the States where my sister will take care of her full time. And she has small children also. Our daughter's 3 years old, so I know she'll miss us, but this is the career we've chosen, and we'll be with it at least 3 more years till I'm eligible to retire, and then maybe we can go back and live a more normal life once we're done with the military. But it has been exciting.
Þar sem fjölskyldur eru hvattar til þess að koma til Íslands, varnarliðinu skylt að veita þá þjónustu sem gerir þeim kleift að lifa sem eðlilegustu lífi. Því eru reknar verslanir og ýmis þjónusta veitt. Verðlagið og vöruúrvalið á þó fátt sameiginlegt með íslensku veruleika. Þó má kannast við marga hluti, en ekki endilega hvar þá að finna. Staflar af vatnsflöskum koma spánst fyrir sjónir á Íslandi. Skýringin sú að reglugerðir hersins kveða á að bætiefni skulu sett í kranavatnið. Flestar vörurnar koma frá Bandaríkjunum, en þó má finna íslenskar vörur innanum.
The hospital here provides service to about 6,000 base residents, and we have this done as a family practice model where we have a group of physicians who provide care from the very young to the very old, although most of those people will be visitors or the civilian employees on base. We provide for immunizations, preventive medicine, routine care. One of our biggest services here is to provide for children, for pediatric care, and also deliveries. We try to provide as much care as we can here on base, knowing that the weather may be bad, people are removed from home, people are here for periods of 18 months to 2.5, 3 years, and would like them to feel that this is part of their community. The other things that we need to provide here, if we can't provide it on base, we send down to Reykjavik after arranging for care. And that's been one of the blessings of this community, is that we have a very good community level standard of care. Stationed here, it's a very unique opportunity. We don't have too many bases where we have combined support between services like Air Force and Navy, so that's been very good. And it's been a very good community for interacting between military, civilian, and Icelandic individuals. And we've tried to integrate everybody here to be working as a team. And it shows that that sort of concept does work, and would like to be able to do this in other settings in the United States. So we have had a unique situation in that regard here.
Trúariðkun býðst á vegum ýmissa safnaða og tekur 3/3 íbúanna reglulega þátt í starfi þeirra. Fyrir einstaklinga og fjölskyldur sem búa í framandi landi fjarri heimahögum, sum hver í fyrsta skipti á ævinni, ýmisleg félagsleg þjónusta nauðsynleg.
Stofnuninni henni skipt í eiginlega 2 aðalþætti og annar þátturinn að hann annast kynningu á vellinum og íslenskri menningu fyrir fólk sem að komast inn og hann annast líka sem sagt kynningu á vellinum fyrir þá sem að ætla sér að koma hingað. Nú svo á hinni hliðinni þá ráðgjafadeildin og hún hefur með að gera ráðgjöf við hjón sem að kannski hefur sleppt upp á vinskapinn hjá fyrir einstaklinga sem að ef til vill eiga sárt að binda eða ykkur erfiðleika í etja og svo foreldra sem að vilja fá ráðgjöf í sambandi við barnauppeldi og það er mjög stór hluti hjá okkur. Það setur mark sitt á fólkið og lífið hér að það eru hermenn og þetta fólk það lifir í samfélagi sem er algjörlega stjórnað af hernum. Það er svo allt öðruvísi heldur en í amerísku þjóðfélagi. Þetta kerfi hérna er til dæmis svona sósíalískt kerfi, það er miklu meira félagslegt. Hérna er læknisþjónusta og tannlæknaþjónusta til dæmis ókeypis og öll þjónusta hjá okkur er gjörsamlega ókeypis. Í Bandaríkjunum er þessu öðruvísi farið. Þannig að fólk hérna sækir allt til hersins, það lifir innan í ákveðnu kerfi og það setur svolítið mark sitt á samskipti fólks að það er tignastiginn innan hersins. Hann ákveður oft hverjir verða vinir og kunningjar meira heldur en kannski persónuleiki fólksins, sem er dálítið sérkennilegt.
We have kids from 6 weeks until 5 years old here. Most of them are from working families that are dual military or single military families or working spouses. The Icelandic people start a little bit later and are very strict on, how much time they spend in daycare, where our children spend basically 10 hours a day in daycare, most of them, because their parents are working. So that's the biggest difference I've noticed. My husband had a choice to go to Guam or to Iceland, and I chose Iceland because I love the winter time and the fall, and the snow is wonderful, and all the new experiences I thought I would learn here.
We have about 700 students, and we have approximately a staff of about 50 to include about 42 teachers. Every student has at least 2 to 3 field trips during the school year where they go off base, where they go out into the community, whether it be Reykjavik, we go to the zoo, we go to some of the surrounding communities here and see some of the cultural things within the community here. On top of that, we also have the assemblies where we will bring in guests, and we've had a lot of the children from the Keflavik music school will come up there with their bands and with their bells and so forth and their choirs, and will sing at our school or will perform at our school. We also have plans right now of trying to do some what we call student exchanges, where 10 or 15 of our students will go down to a school in Keflavik or Njarðvík and will spend the day there, and then the following day will then bring 10 or 15 of the Icelandic students up to our school to spend the day. So that's one of our things that we hope to be doing this year as well. In terms of the school here, what we face often is many of the American students are not used to the severe type of weather that's here. So that's one of the things that we often don't go outside. If it's blowing hard or it's raining, we don't go outside, where the Icelandic children would be going outside. We find that compared to the Icelandic schools, we have a lot of parent involvement. We will, during the day, we will have 20 to 30 parents in the school working with teachers, working in the classrooms, working with individuals, and that I've heard is not necessarily the case in the Icelandic schools. But the other thing, of course, is that our children are rather, there's a fence around us here, and they do not have the opportunity to interact with the culture probably nearly as much as we would like. And that's where we feel as a goal of the school would be, one of our goals would be to try to get that interaction to happen via the field trips, via student exchanges, via bringing in groups from the outside to work with our kids and to perform for the children. And we hope we're semi-successful at that.
Take the owl out in that space.
We have a lot of the things that they have in the States. We have bowling, and we have the movies, theaters, and we get to go sledding. I've never been sledding except before I came up here. I like the snow. I like to go sledding, but sometimes when I go sledding, I don't like to come back up the hill because it takes a lot of energy.
Ómæld orka fer í að fylgjast með ferðum skipa og kafbáta úti fyrir ströndum landsins. Hér eru alltaf 9 Orion kafbátaleitaflugvélar, þar af ein frá Hollandi með tilheyrandi mannskap. Með hverri vél fylgir 12 manna áhöfn og þar sem þessar sveitir dvelja að meðaltali 6 mánuði í hvert sinn mikill fjöldi sem fer hér Bera skreytingar á veggjum flugskýlisins merki þess hverju þar hafa verið á ferð. Stefani Bruno flugvirki ein af fáum konum sem vinna við Orion-vélarnar og við spurðum hana hvers vegna hún valdi þetta starf.
It's just something I wanted to do when I was in high school and didn't actually get the chance to do it, and had the opportunity to come in the military and work on airplanes. It's always been something that I've wanted to do. And that sounds a little odd, but my hours are a little different than the majority of working hours. Basic squadron's working 12 on, 12 off. But the flight personnel, we rotate. We have different shifts, different hours, depending on when our flight starts and ends. So one day I could work during the day, and the next day I might work at night. Depends on when I fly. Currently we're on a split deployment site with the main deployment being here and a detachment being back in Jacksonville. And we rotate out with another squadron at the end of our 6 months. I haven't got a chance to go out off base, but I have flown over the country quite a few times, and it's actually a beautiful country, and we've seen the cities from above and did like coastline tours and stuff. The best part, I say the people that I meet. You transfer every 3 years, you meet new people, you make a lot of friends. The Navy is actually, it seems like a large whole, but it's actually, it seems so small once you're in the military. You run into people that you've met all over continually. Every time you go someplace, you run into people that you've met other places. It's kind of like a big family. The toughest part right now for me is being away from my husband. He's currently back in Jacksonville, and it's kind of, that's the toughest part, being split.
Meira þarf þó til við að halda þessum vélum úti. Fylgjast þarf með ástandi þeirra, skipta út slitnum hlutum og sjá til að þær séu jafnan í góðu ásigkomulagi. Oron Murphy, flugvirki, einn af þeim sem sér viðhald vélana. Hvað var það sem heillaði hann við starfið?
Well, the best part of the job is probably finding out stuff about yourself that you really wasn't aware of if you were just, back at home sitting around. When you get into the thick of things and you really have to use your head, in crunch time situations, it kind of makes you appreciate what you do. There's a lot of things that I can do. This just so happens to be the one that I'm doing now. But if I make a career out of the Navy, you know, which it seems I'm leaning toward that way, it's good. But once I finish here, I'm going to pick up something else and carry it even further. In my opinion, it's probably like everyone else, just, you know, missing your family, you know, coming out of your comfort zone. Sometimes, you know, you get, you know, used to a certain area or a certain way of doing things, and then you have to pick up and move along and try it again somewhere else. That's probably the most difficult thing for me.
Well, A.T. Mahan High School here consists of 220 students, grades 7 through 12, which actually is ages 12 to 18. We have some at 19 when they leave. There are 15 full-time teachers here, and while it's a small school, we think we make up in enthusiasm what we may not have in numbers. There are some obvious differences running this school here and other places I've been. I think the basic difference is all of the students live on base. So this is actually a very isolated community, and the students here do not interact with their neighbors who may be Icelandic because we live here. Other places I've been, Norway for example, the students all lived in the Norwegian communities, and in England it was the same. So I think the folks had a different impression of the host country than what our students have here. Academically, there is very little difference between this school and the same kinds of schools that we operate in Japan, in other parts of Europe. That remains consistent. The goal is that these students can go back to other places in the States and integrate rather quickly and go on to post-secondary training, technical colleges and universities, whether or not they go to this school or one of our schools in another country. We do interact with the Icelandic schools, and I think the friendship and cooperation has been quite good. However, we just don't live among the locals. We're guests here, and it's different in that sense.
If this is Iceland here, then the fish protected by Iceland, the continental shelf here, the fish must be Icelandic as well.
Það er svolítið erfitt og að vera í skólanum allan dag. Svolítið leiðilegt að bara, þú veist, eins og á jólunum þá eru krakkarnir, þú veist, hérna, þá eru þau í jólafrí lengri en hérna, á skólanum hérna eitthvað öllu, og svo fara krakkarnir á Íslandi í sumarfrí miklu, þú veist, rosalega snemma. Við vorum í skóla til 16. júní í síðasta ári.
Why would it get into debt? Yes, decreasing stocks of fish would say, uh-oh.
It's different by ways of, up here they're more freer, I guess, because there's no crime, and I see a lot more kids like walking out on the street, and in the States it wouldn't be that way. And there's not like a really big curfew because you're not scared of anybody, you know, being out very late, and it's very safe, so that's really the only big difference.
Getting to be in different cultures and living in different places is fun, you know, getting to meet the different kinds of people, but leaving friends and, you know, my house, having to go through all of my stuff and decide what's junk, and, you know, some of the decisions I made are very hard, so, but that's what I've known, so.
Which to pay for that high standard of living, look out, we're going to have trouble. We can have inflation, we can have, what else can we have?
Nokkur hundruð Íslendingar starfa hjá íslenskum verktakafyrirtækjum sem annast framkvæmdir í bænum, frá viðhaldi til flutnings og pökkunar á búslóð. Hjá varnarliðinu sjálfu starfa tæplega 1000 íslenski starfsmenn og sinna þar allt frá viðhaldsverkefnum til stjórnunarstarfa. Þá sjá Íslendingar ýmsa starfsemi fyrir íbúana, en dvalartími þeirra svo stuttur að oft fólkið rétt búið að setja sig inn í hlutina þegar það sent á næsta stað. Einnig sjá íslensk fyrirtæki ýmsa þjónustu fyrir varnarliðið.
liggja litlu, það ekki vitað hvað það er verið að leita.
Þetta spennandi starf, þetta krefst mikið af manni. Bara eitthvað sem mann finna á sig sjálfur og sér nauðsyn.
Við erum 24 tíma á staðnum. Við byrjum hérna 12 mínútur fyrir 8 á morgnana og vaktin í sólarhring. Við erum tæplega 80 slökkviliðsmenn. Þetta eingöngu Íslendingar.
Við förum í öll hús á vellinum einu sinni á ári og tökum hér á móti öllum sem að koma hingað í fyrsta skipti og kynnum eldvarnir og útgönguleiðir ef eitthvað pjátan á. Nú að við erum með samstarf náttúrulega við flugsveitirnar hérna og aðstoðum þá þegar að þeir þurfa að keyra upp vélar og þá að vakt yfir því ef eitthvað skyldi bregða út af. Nú, hérna erum við að byggja upp snjóbíl, alveg frá grunni. Nú, það eiginlega ekkert eftir af honum nema bara vélinn og svo grindin undir honum. Við erum búinir að byggja hitt allt upp svona í rólegheitunum.
Það er ákveðin þrek próf hjá okkur 2 ári sem við þurfum að standast. Og við höfum hérna öfluga þjálfun hérna í gangi bara á vaktinni.
Við erum hérna nánast undir herraga þegar við erum hérna innan bæði flugvélar og byggingar. Við höfum okkur þannig. Hér gerum við hlutina, alveg númer 1, 2 og 3, svo getum við kvartað á eftir ef okkur finnst eitthvað að. Og það er tekið tillit til þess en við erum hérna í slökkviliðinu og erum að vinna hjá Bandaríkjastjórn eða her og við gerum það sem okkur er sagt að gera og já, okkur er ekki sagt að gera neina helvítis eða vitleysu sko. Hérna er allt saman heilbrigðir náungar.
Sem betur fer þá höfum við verið lánsamir gegnum árin og eins og ég segi fyrirbyggjandi starfið því að þakka mestu leyti og eins og ég segi við erum tengd slökkvistöðinni tengd öll hús á vellinum. Þannig að ef það fer reykskynjar í gangekstur í einhverju íbúð þá er það komið inn til okkar jafnóðum.
Attention, Station 1 structural units, fire has been reported in building 619.
Slökkviliðið sér einnig að halda flugbrautum vallarins ávallt ís og snjólausum. Þetta er mikilvægt öryggisatriði þar sem þetta er eini varaflugvöllurinn fyrir alþjóðaflug á stóru úthafssvæði. Íslenskir lögreglumenn sjá löggæslu innan bæjarins í samvinnu við herlögreglu. En í hverju felst starfið?
Það almenn löggæslustörf, halda uppi lög og reglu. Nú það er hérna í hliðinu líka að fylgjast með að þess ekki verið að fara út á vellinum þar sem á ekki að fara, þetta er tollfrýndarsvæði. Nú og hérna er skemmtistaðir varnarliðsins og þangað koma gestir og ef eitthvað ber út þá aðstofum við og mætum á staðinn ásamt herlögreglu, leysum þau mál. Þetta samstarf gengur mjög vel við herlögreglu hérna á staðinn. Og svo erum við líka við gæslu í flugstöðinni Seyðisfjarðar. Það er ekkert útgöngubann lengur. Þeir fara að vild nánast. Hann er takmarkaður að því leyti sko að ef þetta varnarliðsmenn sem eru giftir og búið hérna upp frá þá mega þeir helgar hafa gesti til 2 en aðra dagvíkunar fram að miðnætti og þá getur út sérstök gestabréf fyrir það fólk.
It's all about security, making sure the right people get in with a little delay, making sure the wrong people don't come in. There's not a curfew anymore for American military people going off base, but there is a curfew for Icelandic and other foreign national visitors coming on base.
Þó að ekki sé lengur að ræða útgöngubann fyrir íbúa vallarins ýmislegt sem heldur íbúanum heima fyrir. Boðið upp á margskonars dægrastyttingu og svo hægt að hitta landan á hátíðum sem haldnar í bænum. Lágt verðlag innan vallar getur líka haft áhrif, en þar hægt að bregða sér út á lífið innan vallarins. Hvort heldur menn vilja notalega máltíð, spennandi dansleik eða að skreppa með fjölskylduna í keilu. Þar jafnvel hægt að keppa við Íslendinga því íslensk lið kom í bæinn einu sinni í mánuði. Í þessum bæ hægt að finna flest sem hugurinn girnist og því kannski ekki brýn þörf á að leita út fyrir völlin. Kannski á einnig girðingin þátti því að skapa þetta litla einangraða samfélag á Íslandi.